Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Ken Lusaka, making his way into the chamber. And now I'll hand you over for the live broadcast. Enjoy your viewing. Good afternoon.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor and blessings, as your servants whom you have been pleased to call to leadership positions in this republic. We seek guidance to treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Leader of majority.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the Senate today, Thursday, 25th February 2021. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of KBC County Assembly for the year ended 30th June 2019, and report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of KBC County Executive for the financial year ended 30th June 2019. I thank you.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, statements.
Senator Irungu Kang'ata. Senator, okay, is not here. Senator Moses Kajwang. Not here. Senator Mohammed Faki. Not here. Senator Cherargei Samson. Deferred. Senator Isaac Mwaura. Senator Isaac Mwaura. Senate Majority Leader.
Sit down. Thank you, Speaker. The Speaker, sir, pursuant to Standing Order 52.1, I hereby present the Senate the business of the House for the week commencing Tuesday, 2nd March 2021. On Tuesday, 2nd March 2021, the Senate Business Committee, SBC, will meet to schedule the business of the Senate. On that day, the Senate will consider bills scheduled for second reading and committee of the whole stages. The Senate will also continue with considerations of business that will not be concluded in today's order paper, including motions, petitions, and statements. On Wednesday, 3rd March 2021, the Senate will continue with business that will not be concluded on Tuesday, 2nd March 2021, and any other business scheduled by the Senate Business Committee. While on Thursday, 4th March 2021, the Senate will continue with business that will not be concluded on Wednesday, 3rd March 2021, and any other business. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House of the Office of the Speaker and that of the Senate leadership has continued to engage our counterparts in the National Assembly to fast-track the process of regularizing bills affected by the judgment of the High Court on Constitutional Petition number 284 of 2019. As of today, 20 bills have been approved for republication and have been transmitted to the government printer for the same. A total of 15 bills are undergoing concurrence process pursuant to Article 110(3) of the Constitution. The Senate Business Committee will provide a framework for fast-tracking consideration and passage of the bills upon conclusion of these processes and subsequent introduction in the Senate by way of first reading. Mr. Speaker, the motion for adoption of the report of Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the 2021 Budget Policy Statement is scheduled in today's order paper at order number 8. It is important for senators to note that the deadline for consideration of this report is fast approaching. I take this opportunity to urge all honorable senators to avail themselves for debate on this important matter and until a decision is taken. Mr. Speaker, sir, in conclusion, pursuant to the resolution of the Senate on the calendar for the 5th session, made on Tuesday, 16th February 2021, the Senate is scheduled to proceed for a short recess at the rise of the House on Thursday, 4th March to 22nd March 2021. A motion for adjournment for the Senate will be scheduled in the order paper accordingly. Even so, I urge all standing committees to expedite consideration of pending petitions and statements and to table reports thereon pursuant to standing orders. Mr. Speaker, I thank you, and I hereby lay the statement on the table of the House. Thank you.
Okay, the next order.
Order number 8, motion, adoption of the report of the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the 2021 Budget Policy Statement and Medium-Term Debt Management Strategy.
Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the Senate adopts a report on the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the 2021 Budget Policy Statement and Medium-Term Debt Management Strategy laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 24th February 2021, and pursuant to Section 25(7) of the Public Finance Management Act and Standing Order 187 of the Senate, approves the 2021 Budget Policy Statement. Mr. Speaker, as it is the tradition every other year before the budget is led, we do go through this process. And from the onset, I want to thank you, the committee, my committee, for having put in some time and considerable time within a very short time to be able to come up with this report. I also extend thanks to the other committees who did make submissions on their feelings and their objectives and their likings of the budget policy statement. Mr. Speaker, I have a document here. I was told it's a moving note document. It is about 200 pages, so I'm wondering whether to read it word by word, or do I do the usual? I read it horizontally and then give members time to debate on this very important motion. Having mentioned the articles that give us the mandate to do what we are doing, I want to move ahead, Mr. Speaker, and make an observation that the committee made, and I think the House will agree with us that the time given for us to go through this very important function is not enough. And so, from the onset, Mr. Speaker, the committee, we are recommending that the 12 days are not enough for us to be able to carry out thorough deliberations of the budget policy statement. And even though, and it came out from various senators, that sometimes our recommendations are never taken seriously, it is very important we do something that goes into history, that we made serious insights or comments into the way we would want the budget or the economy of this country to be run. Mr. Speaker, so as a committee, we are proposing an amendment to Public Finance Management Act 2012 with a view of increasing the days given to this process from 14 to 28. So it is very important, Mr. Speaker, we start from the onset declaring that. Mr. Speaker, having gone through the budget policy statement and the debt management strategies that had been provided, that were presented to us by the National Treasury, we can clearly just summarize and say that the interest of the Senate on the two issues can be categorized as follows: national policies and programs that have a direct impact on economic performance of counties, and two, proposals on division of revenue between the two levels of government and among counties for the financial year 2021. Mr. Speaker, in carrying out the exercise and carrying out the duty we were given by the Senate to compile the report, we did meet the following entities as stakeholders to be able to prepare this report. We met the National Treasury team, we met the Commission of Revenue Allocation, the Council of Governors, the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, the International Budget Partnership, the Kenya Pediatric Research Consortium, the Institute of Public Finance, together with Oxfam Kenya, and of course the Senate standing committees, like I mentioned, made their submission. Mr. Speaker, National Treasury, or the people who prepared the BPS, came up with a dicey, or one would want to say a blooding name for the BPS, and they are calling it Building Back Better, Strategy for Resilient and Sustainable Economic Recovery. Mr. Speaker, like I mentioned, I don't want to dwell on issues that senators can be able to lead, because in the preamble, the first pages of the BPS, the National Treasury and with the team that prepared the BPS, they looked at both macro and microeconomy, both comparing contemporary economies and the global economy, and formed quite a basis on their proposals. So, Mr. Speaker, one key area one issue that we all know is that due to COVID and other economic factors, extraneous economic factors, the economy did not perform well, and it's estimated the growth was 0.6%, and this is from a growth of about 5.4% in 2019. However, using what they are calling a baseline for base, the National Treasury is projecting that the economy will grow at about 7%. However, Mr. Speaker, everybody and every stakeholder that we met, including, I believe, the senators who are here, because we live in this country, we all think that that is a very ambitious projection. And so we're trying to ask the National Treasury to come clean and clear with clarity on how the country or the economy will be able to grow by 7%. And the BPS has indicated that growth will be supported by stable macroeconomic environment, favorable post-COVID global economic environment, expected favorable weather, ongoing investment in strategic priorities of the government under the Agenda 4. Hasten to add, one of the issues that came when Agenda 4 is mentioned is that every other stakeholder other than National Treasury were asking what are the milestones that have been made so far on the Agenda 4. What is it that we can say, we can feel and touch as a result of this Agenda 4? It is not Charles Kibiro, the chairman, who is asking that, but it is the stakeholders who are casting doubt that this National Treasury was not able to come out in the BPS and be able to illustrate that there are milestones that are touchable and that have touched many people when it comes to issues of Agenda 4. Maybe they are there here and there, but on the BPS, we couldn't put a finger into the milestones. So, Mr. Speaker, progressing, I just want to mention, I'll be looking at subtopics, just mention one or two issues in the interest of time. And start with the fiscal policy. And for those who have looked at the report, the BPS projects revenue, including appropriation in aid in financial year 2021-2022 to Kenya shillings 2 billion, about 16.4% of the GDP. And as compared to 1.8 billion, which was 16.6% in the current year. The committee, however, noted that the revenue measures proposed are similar. It is a cut and paste almost of what had been proposed before and the year before. It looks like the National Treasury gentlemen there and ladies are not becoming innovative and thinking wide-wide. It was a feeling of the committee there was nothing novel, there was nothing new in the proposals that they have put in terms of making sure that we realize the targets that they have put. The committee further observed that the total revenue by the end of January 2021 was 937 billion. Again, it's a target of 1 billion. And representing a shortfall about 122 billion. Going by the reported shortfall, the then it is the view of the committee that the projections may not be achieved. It came out that more often than not, we are only able to achieve what is readjusted after the budget in the supplementary budgets. The committee further observed that the fiscal deficit target for the financial year 2021 and the medium term is unrealistic. It is projected that the fiscal deficit, including grants, as a share of GDP, will decline by 9% in 2021 to minus 3.9% in 2024. But National Treasury is encouraging and saying, given the public expenditure, sorry, Mr. Speaker, secure indulgence, we, however, say that given the public expenditure pressure, recurrent in nature, especially from the wage bill and security sector related, and collection of lower than targeted revenue, the projected fiscal deficit path is unlikely to be achieved. That's an observation we made, and most of the stakeholders, including committees of the Senate, concurred with that observation. Mr. Speaker, on inflation rate, the National Treasury is promising that we will remain within the target, which is between 2.5% and 7.5% in 21. But we have seen already there is increase. We have seen increase in fuel. We have seen increase in cereal prices. And we pray that this does not push the inflation rate beyond what the National Treasury or the proposals in the BPS. Interest rates, Mr. Speaker, the committee knows that the monetary policy measures adopted by CBK during the pandemic, such as the reduction in the cash reserve requirement from 5.2 to 5.25 to 4.25, and reduction of the CBK rate from 8.25% to 7% did not meet the objective of lowering the cost of borrowing for the private sector. Mr. Speaker, for some of us who talk to the business community, and including the people in the bank who are in the banks still feel constrained by some of the administrative rules by the central bank, because they are unable to lead to the business community so that the business community can be able to inject the same to their businesses and consequently get the economy moving forward or growing. So there's something there we need to look at. But having said that, the weighted average lending rate remains stable at about 12%. External sector, Mr. Speaker, looking at the external sector, like we mentioned, 2020 there was some improvement in the current account deficit from minus 5% to 4% as a share of GDP. And the Kenya shilling, unfortunately, depreciated significantly relative to other major currencies in 2020. The shilling depreciated by 9%, 14%, 21% against the dollar, sterling pound, euro, respectively, between February 2020 and January 2021. The committee observed that despite the 2021 and the medium-term budget framework following a fiscal consolidation policy to strengthen the debt sustainability position in the 2021 budget framework indicates higher allocation of 3 trillion than the overall total budget of 2021, which is 2.7, which is Kenya shillings 2.775 billion. The major increase in the consolidated fund services, which has a positive change of 19% due to mainly public debt service expenses. Revenue projection, Mr. Speaker. Our revenue projection, as earlier stated, including appropriation in aid for the financial year 2021, is expected to be about 2,000 billion. That is about 2 trillion. And about that is, like we mentioned, 16.4 vis-a-vis 1.8 trillion, which is about 16.6 to the GDP last year. The revenue is further expected to improve in the medium term to Kenya shillings 3 trillion. We are talking about $300 billion economy. The expected increase in revenue collection will be aided by measures such as, this is according to the National Treasury, which some of us could not touch and feel. Revamping audit function. We have had here, we have seen that that function need surgery. Enhanced debt program. Mr. Speaker, of late we have started hearing a word that we've had many years back, conditionalities. So we need to see the effects and how the debt program will move. Implementing initiatives to boost customs revenue, robust intelligence collection, whatever that means, utilization and correction, as well as engaging the tax appeals tribunal and the judiciary to fast-track conclusion of KRA cases, among others. Mr. Speaker, across the board, everybody, from ISPAC, from the business community that we interact with, we are requesting that KRA adopt a human way of dealing with taxes and the people who pay taxes. We are saying you don't kill the chicken that lays the egg. There are better ways of managing debt correction or taxes. And so we are asking KRA to be on the lookout to change tactics, and probably they will be able to have a wider basket and be able to meet their target. So that is something that came up from all corners, especially from one Senator Wamatangi. The committee noted some of the measures have been ongoing, but however, we could not touch the outputs, Mr. Speaker. And so, as the National Treasury moves in implementing the issues presented here, or the issues they have put in pen and paper, we would want them to walk the talk, and they would want to clarity on how they will be implementing these issues. Mr. Speaker, on medium-term debt management strategy, like we mentioned, the fiscal deficit, I talked about the fiscal deficit. The 2021 DMS tabled the Senate proposes an optimal strategy that minimizes costs, risks of public debt. It suggests a borrowing framework of 57% from net external borrowing and a 43% in net domestic borrowing. The strategy is underpinned by the need to move away from the high interest costs of domestic debt. Mr. Speaker, this country and the economists in this country, I think they need to be innovative. I remember the National Treasury did call us for a breakfast at Selena, where we were to discuss, where they were presenting a post-COVID recovery strategy. And some of the issues that have come up is that the government need to reduce invest in some of its investments from some companies like Safaricom, like Kenya Pipeline and others that can be able to give the country more money to be able to get out of this kind of debt. Further, Mr. Speaker, we asked, what is it that they are doing about the expensive commercial loans? And now and then, we are being told that they are trying to restructure, trying to borrow patient capital from bodies like World Bank and IMF and others, so that they can be able to relieve the pressure on the commercial loans, which are very expensive, and I believe they are the ones that are shocking the economy of this country because the repayment is quite expensive. Mr. Speaker, we did also get a presentation, or we looked at the public debt sustainability analysis. And this is a way of analyzing, is the country solvent? Is it an ongoing concern? At what point in time will we have debt distress? And for now, it looks like the overall ratio indicates that Kenya debt, and that is public and publicly guaranteed debt to GDP ratio, is at 63.4 and is moving towards breaching the threshold of 70. So, Mr. Speaker, we are almost there, which is our whole institution, and so we don't want to get into that position where we become an ongoing, we become an ongoing concern, Mr. Speaker, because we are choked by the debt. Mr. Speaker, as much as we have a headroom of 3% in that area, again, the debt service as a percentage of revenue remains breached into the medium term. The threshold is 50% as per the law, but our country is at 54%, Mr. Speaker. This indicates liquidity shocks and debt service, which is a fast charge and takes up a large amount of the revenue collected. The total debt as we start here, Mr. Speaker, is 7.28 trillion, which is within the 9 trillion ceiling approved by Parliament. However, the committee noted that given the current growth rate of the fiscal deficit, the threshold is likely to be breached by mid-2022, 2023. Mr. Speaker, we come now to our very critical area where we look at the vertical division of revenue. Mr. Speaker, the projected shareable revenue is Kenya shillings 1.775 trillion. The National Treasury proposes allocation of Kenya shillings 409,881 billion to county governments for the financial year 2021-2022. This is inclusive of county equitable share, which is proposed as Kenya shillings 370 billion. Mr. Speaker, you realize last time, even the chair was hiding sometimes because we had a protracted battle. I was baptized by fire as the chairman. My first assignment as a chair, Mr. Speaker, it wasn't easy. I was baptized with fire. But having said that, it was good because, everybody from Oango, both the Team Kenya, the serious Team Kenya, we all got what we wanted, and we are happy moving forward. Mr. Speaker, it has been noted that though the county equitable share has increased in nominal numbers as a percentage of ordinary revenue, it has consistently...
What's your point of order, Senator Nderitu?
...dropped from a high...
It's a point of intervention.
Mr. Speaker, I have heard from the Chairman Finance saying that there is one team that was serious. Does he want to insinuate the other team was not serious, Mr. Speaker?
I think that was just on a light note.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At least Senator for Laikipia, my good friend, was in the more serious team. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, it has been noted that though the county equity share has increased in nominal numbers as a percentage of ordinary revenue, it has consistently dropped from a high of 22.5%. This is very important, Mr. Speaker. 22.5% in the financial year 2015-2016, as projected low of 20.84% in the financial year 2021-2022. And it is further projected to drop to 14.9% in the financial year 23-24. And this is where the BBI comes in, so that we can anchor the 35% in the Bible, and that is the Constitution. The committee noted the downward trend in actual count. Mr. Speaker, I want to look at the own source revenue as we look at the equitable, the county own source revenue. And Mr. Speaker, it is sad that we noticed, and it has been noticed by even other committees like even CPAC, that there is a trend of a decline in the own source revenue corrections by the counties. And this posed a risk of county budgeting, and eventual service delivery in counties continued to accumulate the pending bills. Mr. Speaker, one of the reasons why we even hired Mutura Jr. to be our lawyer, our legal representative in the leadership meeting, which I hope it had a good verdict today, is because we need to amend the Pfm Act. Because some of the issues that we have tried to address in the Pfm Act is how do counties do their budget? They have a wish list, and they put all their wish list in their own source revenue. You see a county saying that they collect 800 million, and in nuisance for the last 8 years, they have never even hit 350 million. So, Mr. Speaker, one of the recommendations we have made is that counties to be budgeting based on the average actual correction of the last 3 years, so that we don't have people budgeting, having a wish list for personal or for whatever reasons, which to me is not to the benefit of the citizens of this country. But having said that, the Council of Governors, led by the governor of Laikipia, they did ask us to look into how they can be able to get some of the levies, like the catering levy, honestly. All the hotels and the eateries, the bars and things like that are in the counties. So one wonders why the national government continues collecting that levy. And we did promise them we are going to have a meeting and look at how we can be able to help them. They also requested us, in terms of own source revenue, whether we can be able, what we can do to help them enforce payment by the big brother. The biggest defaulters of property tax is the national government. So they were asking us, as a Senate, we think and come up with the ways of how we can be able to help them deal with the defaulters. And the defaulters are the people who share the cake. So they have a problem because county like Laikipia would even be owed money by the armed forces, but they are unable to disconnect or to collect the water bills that are outstanding. So, Mr. Speaker, that was a presentation. The one thing that we also agreed, Mr. Speaker, and this is coming up in many ways, and we had a meeting as a committee with the National Treasury, is that we need to establish, there is need to establish an integrated revenue management system to aid the counties in revenue correction and management. This would see revenue leakages and improve on performance. We are there of systems, Mr. Speaker, and ICT, and I think we can make work easier. Mr. Speaker, we would, like I mentioned the other day, probably we also need to understand this spatial planning that was required and under timeline. What is it that they are doing? How far are we on valuation laws within the counties and etc., etc.? So, Mr. Speaker, this is an area as a committee we'll be embarking on from maybe next week to see to it that our legacy would be to leave legislation or rules and regulations that help the counties to enhance revenue collection. Mr. Speaker, the committee made a number of recommendations, both policy and financial recommendations. And Mr. Speaker, the policy recommendations that we made, Mr. Speaker, is that, one, the National Treasury should not use the base effect economic growth to project high revenue correction and the resultant increased spending. It should neither be interpreted to mean an improvement in the living standards of Kenyans. Like we said, the 7% growth may not translate to benefits in people's pockets. So the National Treasury may want to look at that. We also say that the National Treasury should develop realistic ways of projecting revenues based on historical performance and using an average of the past 3 years' revenue performance, like we are doing for the county governments. We also think that the wish list, I think they start with the expenses and then they move backward to be able to see whatever. So we are telling them, be a bit realistic, get facts right, because this country and the economy has never been able to meet its target. We always adjust downwards. So I think it is high time we live within our means moving forward. And in order to curb potential effects of reliance on the diaspora remittances and to sustain the country's country account balances, the National Treasury, in conjunction with other relevant ministries, should invest in the promotion and marketing of exports of agriculture products and creating access to new export markets and value addition of small and medium-sized farmers to promote diversification of agricultural exports and improve current account balance. Mr. Speaker, one of the things that came is that everybody is happy about the diaspora remittances. And in another area, we have recommended that probably it is a high time the Ministry of Foreign Affairs comes up and makes the diaspora desk as a division or as a department. We have countries that treat their diaspora very seriously because of this, the effect of the remittances to the economies. So, Mr. Speaker, what we are saying is let them have special passes and issues like that. Let them be treated like the king. And indeed, we will see remarkable improvement and sustainable in terms of remittances from the diaspora. So if that is the chicken that lays, the goods that lays the golden egg, we need to handle it with kind hands because it looks like it is our cash cow. To enable the government enhanced revenue collection, it is recommended that a multi-agency team comprising of CRI, KRI, and National Treasury should carry out capacity building to enforce the policy on own-source revenue, as well work with counties to harness county revenue potential. The marking of revenue potential, coupled with collection efficiency, would ultimately help boost the collection of OSR. Further, Mr. Speaker, the National Treasury should adhere to the cash disbursement schedule approved by the Senate. Mr. Speaker, by the time we met the CLA, 168 billion was outstanding to be dispersed to the counties. And a number of excuses were given, like that the National Treasury cannot be able to disperse funds when county government accounts have balances. So one Mutura Jr. was asking, where is it written in the Constitution or in the law that one should not happen? Of course, in terms of cash management, National Treasury would argue that they need not borrow to put money lying in accounts. But at the same time, we also observed that there are counties that are unable to make quick absorption of the resources that are sent to them. Further, we said that the National Treasury should fast-track processing and submission of public finance management equalization fund regulations. We learned that these regulations are lying somewhere in the cabinet, with the cabinet, and it is a high time, as we wait for BBI, we get them approved, the regulations. Lack of compliance, there is lack of compliance to the requirement for development spending. The 30% mandatory requirement for development funds in the counties, it is not being achieved in most of the counties. Each county government should take stock of all its pension liabilities. Mr. Speaker, One of the things that came up, and it keeps on coming, is that the county governments own the pension schemes, about 26 billion. And even if the counties were to do rationalization of the staff and probably do an early retirement so that they can improve on efficiencies by bringing more versatile staff, one staff to replace 10, then it becomes very difficult to do that if the pension funds are not there for the people going out to be able to be compensated as per the law. So, Mr. Speaker, we urge the counties to come up with on how they can be able to meet that bill. Mr. Speaker, the Commission of Revenue Allocation should map up projects and programs in the national budget which are devolved function as stated in the 4th schedule, and the National Treasury should further come up with a plan to transfer the functions and their resources to the county governments. Mr. Speaker, 8 years down the line, even when we have very clear functions that have been devolved, we still have Nairobi, and in Nairobi I mean the ministries, retaining a lot of money and with certain functions that are supposed to be executed. I believe the counties have come of age. If we put the light structures, which I think through CPAC and other endeavors we have been trying to put, let the counties be in charge of their activities. That was the intention of devolution, and we need to support that as a Senate. The National Treasury should carry out an evaluation of 2021-2022 financial year of the performance and achievement of conditional grants financed from the national government, share of revenue to determine whether the intended policy objectives has been achieved. This evaluation report should be submitted to the Senate within the next 4 months. Mr. Speaker, you can't improve what you can't measure. So for us to make continuous improvement, we must keep on measuring and putting down what we need to, what is required. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we did recommend that in order to ensure there is no further accumulation of pending bills, I mentioned that, Mr. Speaker, and more emphasis, we also put in the amendment of the Pfm Act that it must be FIFO, first in, first out. Mr. Speaker, we still have pending bills for 2014-2015 financial year. And 2020, you will see people being paid because they delivered last week. So, Mr. Speaker, we must, for hygiene and tidiness on our financial, on how we conduct business, we should stop enjoying suppliers' credit. And that is why probably BBI is pushing for promote payment bill. I'm not campaigning for BBI, but I think those are the benefits. Bwana Wabua. Senator Wabua, the allocation, Mr. Speaker, as a committee, we felt offended when...
What's your point of order, Senator Wambua?
Mr. Speaker, because this is a House of Record, the Chairman of Finance has mentioned the name of Senator Wambua in the same line with BBI and the budget policy statement. I see no relationship, Mr. Speaker. I need clarity on where Senator Wambua comes in on BBI and the budget policy statement. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, because I have led BBI, and Wabua is my very good friend, and he has a bill that he wants funded and anchored in the counties. That is why I thought, as a friend, I need to just highlight that the promote payment bill is part of the bigger picture of BBI. Thank you, Senator Wabua. Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sakaja, what is your...
You know, Mr. Speaker, I'd just like to inform the good Chairman of Finance, because he's mentioned the prompt payment bill twice as a bill being pushed by BBI. I hope he's informed that he himself has voted on that bill twice in this House. It is sponsored by myself and Senator Faria, but BBI, I think, have copied it, and imitation is the best form of flattery. So refer to the Sakaja prompt payment bill, because that is the one the Senate has been voting on before BBI.
What's your point of order, Senator?
Mr. Speaker, I want to ask whether it is in order for the finance chair, whom I have a lot of respect to, is in order to be reading a PBS report and at the same time is talking about BBI. So I'm really trying to write a few notes on what I am supposed to contribute. But the chairman seemed to be in a public participation forum of BBI instead of him giving us the insight of the report his committee is bringing to the floor of the House. So I want you to give us direction whether we shall continue with the Finance Committee Chairman report or he takes us through the BBI report. So that if he's telling us the BBI, things to do with BBI, then we should also be having the BBI report here with us, so that he should not be mixing us. Because I'm totally confused, Mr. Speaker.
I think you are confused from something else, not exactly that. I think if my memory serves me right, he only mentioned BBI once, and just, as a matter of... So I don't think that can be a source of confusion. Senator Nderitu, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, the chairman finance also doubles as the chairman of BBI in Mount Kenya region, so I think he's doing what he's supposed to do best.
No, I think you are the ones now dragging BBI into... Let him complete, because I think we are now derailing ourselves.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I want to complete. Senator, I just brought in some issues so that, budget issues are very complicated, especially for historians, lawyers, and others. When once...
Chair, we are trying to save you, and seemingly you are getting deeper into
Mr.
more
Speaker, I want to proceed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, senators. What I was saying is that the committee felt a bit uneasy when we heard that the National Treasury is putting in 1 billion Kenya shillings to increase on the figure of medical equipment services. This is an animal that we have all been trying to fight, and we have refused as a committee. We were persuaded, but we have recommended that the allocation of medical equipment scheme services project should remain at Kenya shillings 6.2 billion, since this contract is with fixed terms and the cost should not be fluctuating annually. It came out that at one point it was even 9. Sometimes 5 point something. So, Mr. Speaker, our recommendation is that the faster we do away with this animal, the better. And so we have said that money be reallocated elsewhere. And I mentioned about the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, on debt management, our recommendation is that the Auditor General should conduct a performance audit on public debt to establish the economic efficiency and effectiveness of public debt, including the true debt sustainability position, since there is conflicting statistics in the Kenyan debt situation. The issue of debt, Mr. Speaker, is something that people talk in whispers. People don't want to tell the truth. But I think it is a high time we do a surgery and dissect and see how are we performing on issues of debt. What value are we getting out of the debt? And the National Treasury, finally, in terms of policy, the National Treasury should submit an updated public debt register as an annex when submitting the medium-term debt strategy to the Parliament. So we want to know the status and the position when this one is done. Finally, Mr. Speaker, We looked at the allocation, and like we mentioned, we now have a kitty of about 370 billion. Allocation of conditional grants from proceeds of grants and loans from development partners, we have 2.3 billion. Allocation of equipment, medical equipment, 6.21 billion. And that is what we said. Since the contract is fixed, we said we reduce the 1 billion that was there. And this one, we are saying the 1 billion saving from the allocation of medical equipment services, and I hope National Treasury, you are listening, should be redirected to reduce the fiscal deficit. I hope they have heard that. Mr. Speaker, the fiscal deficit on commitment basis excluding grants for the financial year 2021 should be biding at 970 billion. The net domestic borrowing and net foreign financing to be set at Kenya shillings 661 billion and Kenya shillings 267.3 billion respectively. Mr. Speaker, we thought it is very important to pronounce ourselves on this so that we can be able to hold people into account if they don't follow the recommendations. Finally, Mr. Speaker, that the allocation of equalization fund for Kenya shilling 6.83 billion be approved as provided in the budget policy statement. Mr. Speaker, in a nutshell, that is the report and the recommendations made by the Finance and Budget Committee. And Mr. Speaker, I beg to move and request my Vice Chair to second the motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. He is asleep.
Mr. Speaker and my chair, I wasn't asleep. I was deeply thoughtful, particularly about Senator Wambua. Senator Wambua is my very good friend and is jittery about BBI. Actually, this report was discussed by the committee as a precursor to BBI. We have expectations that more revenue will be allocated to counties, more so when the constitution becomes definitive that 35% should go to counties. So if you read this report, both literally and figuratively, it is also promoting that expectation, and BBI is the ultimate written or documented expectation that our counties will get more revenue. So when we were discussing it, we were not discussing BBI.
Senator Wambua, what is your
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Senator of Kitui has capacity to state his position on all matters, including BBI. Mr. Speaker, I want protection, I seek protection from the chair that the Senator of Migori does not ascribe positions to me on BBI. I am not dictionary about anything. I'm just listening and following. And as Senator Kinyo said, if then the Finance Committee wants to convert this conversation into a public participation forum, then we need to be given notice. If not so, we are here to discuss the BPS and we are ready for it. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I noticed that Senator Wambua wants to drag us to that debate, but it would suffice to mention that we recently had a bet with him whether Kitui County would pass BBI or not, and he lost the bet. That is why we have to mention this. He lost it, and it's on record. I didn't vote in Kitui. He lost it, and is upset about mention of BBI. So, Mr. Speaker, having mentioned that, I want to say that the BPS report that we are discussing, I want to encourage all of us to look at it. BPS is a very important first step towards protection of counties and towards ensuring that counties are allocated sufficient revenues and that policies that are legislated or promoted do not work against the counties. So, Mr. Speaker, I am happy, and I hope my colleagues have had time to look at this report or will continue having time to look at it. This report is a good report. It's a progressive report. It is also coming against the backdrop or against the background of what we had last year, which was a standoff. My chair and members of our committee got into serious trouble. In fact, the entire House took over our work and did what was done that has culminated in the increased allocation that is now 400 billion. I think I want to thank the team that called itself Team Kenya for the robust engagement. Without your engagement and without our team digging in, the contradiction would not have yielded the benefit that we have. This House must continue engaging robustly, because if we were all yes people, I think we would not be having the kind of money we have. And somewhere in history, each person will get a paragraph of that history and enjoy it with the people who will be writing it. Each of us played a role. And that is why Senate is very important. Let's not just agree to all issues. Our disagreement is hard, and interventions are made that are beneficial and inclusive to all Kenyans. So let us not get embarrassed for having participated in that animated discussion that gave birth to the kind of money that we are talking about. And I think in future, we should have that kind of robust engagement. The National Assembly used to take us for granted. They still take us for granted. Our robust engagement with them ended up in court, and I think we are progressively trying to protect our gains. And as the future arrives, which it does every day, the progress we have made in our relationship with the National Assembly will also be anchored in law. It will be something that has precedence, and it will be something that will also be recorded in history, that, Mr. Speaker, you are a hero, you went to court, and you annulled 23 pieces of legislation. We were also unanimously in support of the position you took. So this report is a good report. There is, however, optimism that can be misplaced. There is projection that the economy is likely to grow by 7%. I think if you take it literally, these are not normal times. That 7% growth is 7% movement from a very deep hole, not to the surface, but we are still in that hole. We may be moving from negative 50 to still negative 5. We'll still be in negative. So do not think about the 7% and think that Kenyans and ourselves will have more money. COVID took away, if you look at the BPS statement, a lot of our resources and income, and that growth will just be growing towards the positive side. We'll still wind up being at close to -6 or negative something. But I think it is a progress, and as leaders, we must be hopeful, and we must always give hope and expectation, realistic though, to our people, that good times are ahead. So that is an aspect that is there. The National Treasury should be very clear on that and not start committing the future that the 7% growth is indicative of the fact that there'll be more money to be shared. So as a committee, we had that discussion with them, and we made it very clear to them that they should factor in that and not make it an expectation, the basis of which we'll be looking at in the future. Now, Mr. Speaker, we also noticed that there is a high risk when we look at the debts that we have as a nation. This nation has very serious debts, both local and international. And the National Treasury was not quite explicit on this news that we read from the newspapers and from other sources of rumors, including social media, that they are seeking to enlarge or expand the debt ceiling. They did not come out very clearly as to whether that is a rumor and how they intend to go about it, but we made it very clear to them that the reality on the ground is that nobody has money, and the reality on the ground is that if we continue borrowing, then the state of the nation and money in circulation will be worse, and the state of pending bills and the county economies will be worse than what it is. I hope the National Treasury is going to take seriously the recommendation we had or we made. Now, Mr. Speaker, we were disappointed as a committee that the National Treasury continues to look at the Senate as not being pivotal or being key or important in matters budget and matters finance. On that day, National Treasury CS, we were informed, was meeting the National Assembly budget team and had also set a meeting with us. So we had the misfortune of meeting the CAS, but fortunately we had very competent professionals from Treasury. But in future we resolved as a committee that the CS Treasury must take the Senate seriously, because if you look at the Pfm Act and the Constitution, this is a shared responsibility. We allocate money to counties collectively and individually, and matters money, we are not just passengers. We are actually the main drivers, because a national government without counties is like a roof without foundation. I think growth must come from the counties. So I hope the National Treasury will take seriously the observation we made that they kind of try to slide Senate when it comes to matters finance. Now, Mr. Speaker, we also, as a committee, noticed that the county governments and national government do not comply with PFM when it comes to stratification of ceilings that are supposed to be spent on salaries and recurrent. So, Mr. Speaker, we recommended and we still recommend that National Treasury, the Controller of Budget, and other enforcement institutions must find a way of enforcing these regulations. Regulations are made for good order. Regulations are made for stability. They must not be made in vain, and it would be worse if the violator of laws or regulations or policy are the people who are supposed to enforce them and comply with them. Governments must never break law. Governments must never break regulation. So we hope that the National Treasury and other related institutions are hearing us loud and clear, and will in future ensure that they are part of compliance with the rule of law and also enforcement of the rule of law. Because a government that does not comply with the law or its enforcement has no moral or legitimate authority to purport to be a legitimate government. So we hope that recommendation will be taken seriously. Now, Mr. Speaker, it is good to note that the amount that has been allocated to counties is a good amount. The amount that almost made us become enemies when we need one another, when we are a Senate, not just a collection of enemies who are members of the Senate. We are collectively a Senate, and we must remain so, because our output is collectively ours. The opinion of an individual senator is not the decision of the Senate. So I am happy that the allocation was increased, and that because of our collective determination, the executive, the fact that revenues are low notwithstanding, have struggled to honor that commitment. I think I want to thank the President and the Cabinet and the government for trying as best they can to ensure that that commitment was not hot air to Kenyans. It is a commitment that we are trying to honor, and it's a commitment I hope the National Treasury will find enough money and disperse it to counties, so that we are not just a house or a parliament that is talking sweet words, making commitments that are not honored. Mr. Speaker, my chair and other members will have opportunity to have their inputs, so I do not want to take all the oxygen from this report. I want to associate myself fully with the content of this report that we unanimously adopted. I want to thank our Secretariat and your Secretariat for the support that they offered this committee, and I beg to support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But I beg to second. I think Wambua scared me a little. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Wambua, you are doing very well today. Honorable Senators, I wish to propose the question, which is that the Senate adopts the report of the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the 2021 Budget Policy Statement and medium-term debt management strategy laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 24th February 2021, and pursuant to Section 25(7) of the Public Finance Management Act and Standing Order 187 of the Senate, approves the 2021 Budget Policy Statement. Senator Sakaja.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I acknowledge the work that has been done by this committee in trying to hurriedly, given the timelines, consolidate a report from all the committees that have had to submit to them in less than 2 days their views on the BPS. Mr. Speaker, this is something I've raised earlier, that Section 25 of the Pfm Act has never been followed to the letter. And Mr. Speaker, if you go to Section 25(7), which talks about the PFM, provides that Parliament shall not later than 14 days after the BPS is submitted, and that is from 15th February, table and discuss a report containing recommendations and pass a resolution to adopt it with or without amendments. It talks about a report by Parliament. Parliament is the National Assembly and the Senate. And what we have been doing is sending 2 reports, a Senate report and a National Assembly report. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I know the drafters would have been, it would have been easy for the drafters to say the National Assembly and the Senate shall submit their report of the review on BPS. And so what has been happening, Mr. Speaker, and it's very sad, is that the National Assembly, or rather the National Treasury, receives 2 reports, puts one in the shredder, and that's the Senate report, and then considers the National Assembly report. There has not been, for the last 7 or so years, consideration of what Senate has presented on BPS. So what we're talking about here today, unless we insist that in the next financial year, there shall be one report that moves from one house and comes to the other house and is amended and passed as one report of Parliament, then we might be doing in vain, but because beyond this, there's nowhere else we engage in the national process of budget making. The BROP comes in October budget review outlook paper. The estimates go into the National Assembly, and the estimates are informed by the BPS. So that's something we need to think about as a house, and the chairman, very able chairman, Landlord, has said that his committee wants to review the timelines, as well as to review the, those provisions of PFM. Please propose the amendments, because it is your committee that has the mandate to actually propose those amendments to PFM. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, and I'm glad the committee has noted, there's a lot of use of high-sounding words, which many times mean nothing. You find the BPS has a theme that sounds nice. I don't know what the theme here was. They talk about fiscal consolidation, and it sounds nice. But if you look at the actual provisions and the numbers, there's nothing being consolidated. If you're moving from a budget of below 3 trillion to a 3.01 trillion, what are you consolidating? And expenditure is growing. Mr. Speaker, we're talking about 0.6% economic growth in this financial year. And then, without proposing serious measures that inject a stimulus, that this year we will move to 5.4%. I'm not sure if the committee interrogated what measures then are being proposed for that jump from 0.6% to that 5.4%, because that is our work. We should actually interrogate and propose that. Yet we're in the fourth quarter. 7% growth in 2021, is it plausible? I am not sure, because COVID-19 is not done. And you remember, Mr. Speaker, that in the last year, the President, His Excellency, did a very good thing to address and to cushion Kenyans. He reduced pay-as-you-earn, income tax, which is pay-as-you-earn, VAT, and many other measures, including corporate tax. But those provisions that would have cushioned Kenyans were lifted on the 1st of January. So they were lifted on the 1st of January, and now in February and in March, we are saying that we expect still to revive to 5.4, going to 7%. I don't see the connection, Mr. Speaker, and that is what we really should have been asking as a finance committee. Mr. Speaker, we have issues. The report talks about the net credit issues, that net credit to the private sector expanded to 8.2% by November 2020, and the net credit growth of 17%, Mr. Speaker, was driven by 42% growth in net credit to the public sector. Mr. Speaker, therein lies our biggest problem. And I'm glad the Vice Chair has mentioned it, that, we can be awed by numbers, but is there money in the pockets of Kenyans? And for the longest time, Kenyans feel that there is no money in their pockets because they have been crowded out of the domestic market by government. In fact, one proposal that the Finance Committee should have proposed, Mr. Speaker, is what we have in other jurisdictions like India, that you can borrow what you want. But from the domestic market, the budget, the borrowing mix, the credit mix must reach a certain level. Because, Mr. Speaker, we're talking about close to 700 billion that you're intending to borrow from the domestic market. Which bank would then give Ochilo Ayako and Sons Limited a loan for your business? You cannot do that. And that is why we have had a lot of job losses, because the private sector is bleeding. The SMEs are bleeding. We see Nairobi as the hub of entrepreneurship in this continent, yet we are milking, or rather we are blocking the private sector from growing by making them not access this credit. And by there, I don't believe we have a debt problem. We have a deficit problem in this country. And the deficit problem is because we have decided that we must do a budget of 3 trillion. 3 trillion shillings. The thought that we must achieve everything in 5 years or in 2 years, I think there is fallacy in that economic thinking, Mr. Speaker. And that is what must be reviewed. If we want to save the economy of this country, we need to be talking about how we reduce the budgets going forward and end up in the next 3 or so years with a 1.5 trillion budget, which we can adequately service. Mr. Speaker, I remember Honorable Muraria, when he was finance minister, saying very proudly that we will fully finance our budget. 95% of our budget was financed by our taxes in this country. It's only 5% that was borrowed and very little from the domestic market. And that is when that time, banks would come to hawk. I was in the university. They were coming to hawk loans at students. Please take this unsecured loan. And Kenyans felt that money. So that issue of debt and the issue of especially debt from the domestic market and the budget deficit must be addressed if we want to rescue this country, if we want to save our economy and for the future. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the expenditure on debt, the biggest project that this government does every year is paying our debt. That's the biggest project. We send more than thrice the amount of money we give to counties to paying debt. We're hitting 1 trillion annually. A trillion. Yet we're fighting over 370 billion to counties. So the biggest project actually is our debt payment. Now, these non-concessionary loans, Mr. Speaker, that are domestic of nature, and you should have tasked the budget committee, you should have tasked, and I wish I was a member of that committee, but I'm sure even with my remarks, I'll never be put there. We should have tasked the CS to tell us which ones has he renegotiated, because you need to renegotiate. I'm sure I'll never be put in there. You need to renegotiate those loans. Your 5-year, 7-year loans at 23% as a government. Yet you can get concessionary loans at close to 3%, even at 1% interest, and spread them to 30 years and beyond, so that you reduce the pressure. Because, as I said yesterday on a different topic, we're not borrowing. The burden of debt, and our constitution says, must be shared between generations. I really pity the next president of this country, whoever it will be, because apart from servicing debt, there's probably nothing else you'll be able to do. And the next one, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the revenue outlook, I'm not sure, and I'm glad the whip is one who's been saying how we are squeezing the goose that lays the golden egg. Our revenue philosophy has become one of policing rather than of incubating and building industry. Mr. Speaker, again I refer to the former government where President Mwai Kibaki used to say, kulipa ushuru ni kujitegemea, and would encourage Kenyans everywhere on why they need to pay debt. They were even registering businesses on your behalf for you to be able to pay, your taxes. But today, you have a tax dispute of 10 billion. What do? We shut down your business. So not only do you pay what we think we owe you, tomorrow you will not pay anything else. Yeah? Look at Humphrey Kariuki's these companies. Look at Keroche, look at SportPesa. They were paying a lot of taxes. So we fight over the little that we don't agree on, and then we kill even that much that you are paying, Mr. Speaker. I think the philosophy of policing, of criminalizing businesses instead of encouraging and nurturing. Look at the IRS in the US. They'll come and sit with you and even assist you to grow your business so that we can have a bigger pool from where we raise revenue, Mr. Speaker. I think that's something that must be looked at. It's encouraging that the diaspora remittances have gone up despite COVID, but we need to be careful, and I'm sure the committee has shown. When you look at the fact that our import cover is good, and 4 months import cover is good, remember that in the last financial year, the cost of fuel went down. The cost of fuel was very low, and you know why? During COVID, there was very little international travel. So the demand was low. And when the demand was low then, we're able to say that, look, we have this X amount of reserves. Now, if you look at the projections, and in the past few weeks, how much the price of fuel has been going up, those numbers that you've been given might be fictitious to a certain extent. And I'd just like you to really look at it in terms of moving forward in the year. International travel has opened up. Planes are back. International companies, whether it is Boeing, whether it is the airlines, Emirates, Delta, KQ, etc. So you will not be able to have that kind of cover anymore. So the revenue outlook may not be realistic. Our import cover is not realistic. And if you look at sectoral expenditure, the focusing is not good. Mr. Speaker, we've spoken about post-corona economic recovery strategy. I would challenge the chair of the committee or any member of the committee to give us 5 points in that post-corona economic recovery strategy. Apart from the high-sounding words you were told by Treasury and stakeholders, okay, it sounds nice. It's a nice mouthful. It sounds smart when you say post-corona economic recovery strategy, but what are the 5 activities? You cannot have a budget this year that looks like last year's budget, but you're saying this one is post-corona economic recovery. There must be certain activities that are specific towards that economic recovery, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, many of them would have been the credit guarantee. How much are we putting to cushion businesses in terms of credit guarantee, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, there are many. Look at the hospitality industry that suffered the most. The industries that suffered the most, what are we doing to actually encourage investment in those industries and to cushion them, Mr. Speaker? We've seen the stimulus. The US Senate was discussing actual post-corona stimulus. When are we going to discuss such things for the people that we represent in this country? Or we'd rather just talk about the poetry around, the economic recovery strategy. So I dare say that there is actually no post-corona economic strategy because we've not seen it. And I wish I am wrong. I'd love to be proven I'm wrong. So there's lack of clarity in those policy interventions that we have, and none of them is being linked to the medium-term economic framework that this country is standing on, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you go to the counties, I'll just mention two things. I know many members want to speak. I'll mention a few things on the counties. Mr. Speaker, we had, and everyone who has spoken has alluded to it, we had a very colorful year last year. And the fruit of that, and I'm glad everyone is now very pragmatic in saying that, now we move forward, and we've been able to secure 400 billion, 370 to counties as a result of that engagement, which was robust. The chair said there was a serious team and a more serious team. I wonder how the more serious team was defeated 10 times, if it's more serious. But that notwithstanding, Mr. Speaker, we've seen both the CRA and Treasury trying to be a bit crafty and saying that of the 370, it is only 316.5 that will be equitable share, that will be applied based on the formula that we passed, and then 34.6 or thereabout will be conditional grants. And then the rest will be, that it will be based on 316 only as the baseline. Then the rest is conditional, and then there is that transfer of certain MDAs from the national government, their roles to counties. We will resist that. We will not allow that. Our agreement was at 370, and in fact what we passed had even a simulation of how the 370 will be divided. So the conditional grants will come above the 370. And I hope members are listening keenly, because the devil is in the details. It is above 370 that we'll talk about the conditional and whatever else they want to adjust. And I'm confident it can be done. We have seen budgets of national government departments that run devolved functions that are bigger than budgets of entire counties. Look at agriculture. Look at health with 4 facilities and policy. Their budgets are bigger than many of your counties combined. That money should be transferred into the kitty of equitable share and not discretionary, national government saying where it must go to. That is the work of the Senate. And the cash disbursement schedule must be followed. Mr. Speaker, by the end of January, and I'll give you an example. My county, Nairobi, that I represent, and I'm very happy and proud as Senator, I brought 15 billion in the first year, and now, because of that fight, we've gone to 19 billion. Nairobi County, with a budget of 37 billion this financial year, we're in February, has only received 4.7 billion out of 37 billion. 4.7. On recurrent, 0 on development. Now we're in March. We're getting March, April, May, June, July. In 5 months, you'll want Nairobi to absorb 36 billion, or rather 31 billion. How will that work? So there's what we pass, but also I really urge this budget committee to help us in budget tracking and budget implementation to make sure that what we pass actually goes in. Mr. Speaker, we gave our remarks as a committee. We gave them to the budget committee. I hope they have been looked at. We asked that, the biggest challenge in this country is unemployment, and more money must be put into dealing with employment. We talked about the National Employment Authority that actually has a huge role. In the last 4 years, they've actually helped us secure 70,000 jobs, which we can list. That is the one which I can say I know for sure. NEA has helped us secure 70,000 so far, and 70,000 was just in one country, Saudi Arabia. If you look at Oman, if you look at Dubai and all these other areas, there's a huge potential. And finally, we begged that in this budget policy, on top of the big projects we're doing, please let us incorporate a school feeding program. Our children are really struggling and suffering, especially in the urban areas, in their schools. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this report. Of course, I have no amendments to it, but I just ask that as a Senate, let us review our processes so that we're not just doing, PR or we're not working in vain. That the recommendations we make, they're very good recommendations, and I must applaud Senator Kiviru for leading this committee very well. And today he's dressed like a Minister of Finance. He has given his budget speech. I must applaud him. But please be more radical. And being radical and asking questions does not mean not supporting government, because I know these days there's that thing in the air that when you ask questions, you're not supporting. We support government, but we support government by telling the government the truth. We are going into a hole. If you ask us to raise the budget ceiling to 12 trillion, we shall refuse. We cannot allow that. In fact, we want the real consolidation by reducing our budgets moving forward to at least 1.5 trillion, and let's see how to do that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
The report we picked was the one that you appended your signature, and it was tabled and notice of motion was given. The Speaker, I have prepared myself to debate this matter, and the Speaker, I think, and I have said it, I will say it when I'm contributing, going forward, we must amend the Ratification Act, because I read this thing, and the House of Commons and the House of Lords, in their ratification, they are involved in the negotiation. So we must, in fact, amend the Ratification Act so that before a report comes here, the relevant committee of this House is involved in the initial negotiation between the two executives. That is one thing we need to do. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, now that we have realized this report is not complete, and I really want to ask Honorable Aden, the matter is so grave. It should not bother you. You are the chair. I think you need even to get the report, do the annex, and maybe do a second tabling, and then give a motion, and then we discuss it. Because this House has the powers. I remember I stayed with the Speaker of the Defense Agreement between the UK and Kenya for over 1.5 years. And because the House had issues, I had to maneuver. So, Mr. Speaker, this one touches about taxation. And Honorable Wanga is very right. She's very right. We cannot open this matter. Mr. Speaker, I in fact really want you, this matter must be dealt by 3 committees. 3 committees must be dealt with. The Committee on Trade, the Committee on Finance, Mr. Speaker, if you can hear me, and even the Committee on Regional Integration. Because this matter is touching on East Africa community. Because anything we do with our custom union, any taxation, if it touches on what we have agreed with our neighbors. So I think the Committee on Finance that deals with the taxation, the Committee on Regional Integration that deals with how we live within the East Africa community, and the Committee of Trade needs to sit and look at this matter. I was prepared, and I also got the annexes over lunch hour, Mr. Speaker, because Aden, you know, is one of the very nice, soft, decent chairs, and from my region. So he gave me the annexes over lunch hour. But Mr. Speaker, now in fact, Mr. Speaker, the bigger picture is you cannot introduce documents after a report signed by the Speaker of the National Assembly and tabled and a motion given. You cannot sneak in. So, Speaker, even right now, if I want to table something, anything, the first thing you'll do is whether that document is admissible. So even these annexures, which are being sneaked, Mr. Speaker, the admissibility of it is in question because you didn't look at it. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a very good decision you have made. We are not in a hurry, and that's why the Constitution gave the people of Kenya and this House the power to ratify. So, Honorable Aden, don't be in a hurry. We want to do win-win. If the British have left European Union, Mr. Speaker, in fact, this matter is so serious because we are doing business with the rest of the European Union. This House has passed the Europe EPA, you remember, where Tanzania and Uganda and Rwanda refused and gave us problem. So if we go with the UK, how will the rest of Europe react? If we go with the UK, how will Tanzania and Uganda and Rwanda react? So this matter is important. We must deal with it. And Mr. Speaker, I think the chairman should just go back as you directed. And going forward, Mr. Speaker, and procedure do not allow a chairman to table a report here. And then during the moving of that report, you introduce annexes. Speaker must approve everything, including annexes.
Sorry, honourable members, Honourable Aden, and I think, I want you to, now, I want you to just state, because the deputy clerk here confirms what is brought here, which appears on this document, the annexes and protocols to this agreement shall form an integral part of this agreement. But there are annexures here, and the deputy clerk confirms that they were never they were never received. And this is important. First one, Annexure 1, customs duties on products originating in the EAC partner states. Annexure 2, customs duties on products originating in the UK. Annexure 3, joint statement of the parties on the objectives and essential fundamental elements of this agreement. And it says Protocol 1 concerning the definition of the concept of originating products and methods of administrative cooperation, and Protocol 2 on mutual administrative assistance in customs matters. I think you would agree with me that these are very weighty matters. And if these documents were never received here, as the Deputy Clerk now confirms, then even the point being raised by the Honorable Anga, it's such a fundamental one. Honorable Aden, are you saying that you received them from Parliament?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I was guided earlier when you said that we put this matter to rest and we redo the whole process. All I wanted to say is that members did not interact with this document, these annexures, and therefore are not in a position to make assumptions and even debate as they are doing right now. That's what I'm avoiding, because I'm privy to this document, unfortunately, which was not tabled, but hearing what members are saying, all those concerns have been addressed in these annexures. So let's just leave it at where the Speaker said that we have to redo this so that members will now get access to all this information so that now they can be making informed decisions on matters. As we speak now, some of the concerns I'm hearing have already been captured in this report. So I request that we leave at that. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Leader Majority.
Yeah, Honorable Speaker, I share part of the blame for this because I tabled this document on 22nd of December. You may recall that is the special sitting we had in December. And when I say I share part of the responsibility for this, is we did make an agreement. We agreed that because of all this COVID and handling of papers, we will not be physically bringing the papers to the table of the House. They will be received in table office, and I'll be given a schedule of all the documents that are there, so that we don't have to bring them physically here and table them. And my assumption, when I actually, even the ones I read today, with the annexures, my assumption is that table office has confirmed that those annexures are there, because I have not physically brought them to table them. So I think there's a lapse somewhere that because the report was very clear that it has annexures. And hence, I assumed when I table a report, I've tabled complete with all the annexures having been received in the table office because they are listed on the report. And hence, the issue we need to look at is that there is nobody who had any intention of concealing any of the annexures from public information, because the whole argument is in the public domain. It's only that it's not in Parliament, or did not come in Parliament complete with those annexures. And my plea is that we don't delay this matter on a technicality of the annexures. They're important, but the committee can look at the annexures. I don't know whether they have looked at them, and then give to us a supplementary report, an additional report to guide the House in terms of having looked at the annexures, whether they change fundamentally the agreement or not. Because, Mr. Speaker, I'm also aware that Kenya our GDP is dependent on agriculture. Our foreign exchange is dependent on foreign agricultural exports to Europe predominantly and to UK. We are operating on a temporary memorandum of understanding between Kenya and UK, which expires on the 8th of March. That is next week. After 8th of March, Kenyan exporters to the UK will have to start paying duties on the exports. So this, which makes it uncompetitive for our people relative to the other countries. So we may have made a mistake. As Parliament, we were not thorough in terms of looking for whether the document was complete or not. But that should not be an excuse for us to punish our farmers and our exporters because of something we should have done in December, but did not do. And hence, and the committee perhaps did not look at it, whether the people knew. But I just want to alert that time is of essence. If the committee can look at it over the weekend, give us a report so that we are able to debate this and save our farmers from duties being imposed on exports by them into the UK from the 8th of March when the temporary MOU expires. I think that is the only thing I just want to alert, that we are here for the just government of the people, for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. And that welfare of the society includes protecting our farmers, protecting our exporters who are getting into the UK and whose taxation regime will change on the 8th of March, which is next week, if we don't have a binding agreement in place. So that we just have that into mind and task the committee to now rectify their mistakes by looking at this as an emergency and give us at the earliest opportunity possible program on Tuesday so that we can debate on either on Tuesday evening or Thursday in the course of the week and beat that deadline.
So I see, you know, let's not even get, there's nothing out of order. The officer who received the document is here. He confirms that he received the memorandum and the agreement only. Indeed, the report of the committee will tell you everything. If the committee had interacted with the annexures, there will be reference to those annexures in their report. There is no mention of anything in the annexures. So it is true that the annexures were not submitted to the table office, because the officer who received has confirmed that he only received, and that's why he has appended his signature to this one, the agreement, the memorandum, and the agreement. Again, he has also appended his signature. There's nothing else. He only received these two. So the annexures were not there. Therefore, the committee should, as suggested by the leader majority, take up the matter, organize immediate sessions, and come up with a report. Either an addendum, which will be, because once you pass this, you'll be deemed to have also passed what is in the annexures, which the House doesn't have, but which the chairman has, and he says he has sneaked some copies to the Honorable Duale and the Honorable Kiarie, the member for the Agureti South, of a lunch hour. So please don't do it that way. Don't do it that way. The sneaking documents of a lunch hour, because it's not the way business is transacted here in the House. No, there's no need. The Honorable, I know everybody who cares to have some idea about economics wants to tell me something. No, we have already finished that. No more of this. Honorable Wamushomba, you had yes. Now everybody wants to say, now I was over the weekend doing, I don't know, public participation on economics, I don't know what, budget. Please, you will say that when that debate is there. So please, Honorable Mushomba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mine is away from what you're discussing right now, but what we had discussed earlier. Unfortunately, my point of order was not recognized on time. I wanted to seek your guidance on the matter that Honorable Millie Odhiambo brought on the table of the House, requesting for some time for us to be able to debate the elderly care bill, Senate bill. The reason why I'm seeking guidance, Mr. Speaker, is because I have also a lot of interest in the geriatric matters, that the matters of the elderly. In 2019, I proposed a bill called Geriatric 2019, which has lost direction along the way because it has been tossed between the Committee of Health and Committee on Labor twice, each committee looking at the bill and tossing it to each other. So I would request that if you guide us, Mr. Speaker, I would request that you give us time so that I can consider, without wasting more time, whether my issues within the geriatric bill can be accommodated in the Senate bill.
No, I've already given direction. I've already that matter is closed. It's over. It is overtaken by events. So you will you be in the House when the mover is moving. If there are issues you would wish to speak to, or proceed to go, just move your bills. You don't say it's lost. Some got lost. There is no forest here. I'm sure the Honorable Wamushomba, being the member for Kiambu County, has a lot of forest cover, including Karura Forest. But if the bill is lost somewhere around there, just seek. Let me know what the problem is. We will certainly find it. If you say it's between labor and health, no, just raise that matter so that if there's a legislative proposal, has it been drafted into a bill? Has it been drafted into a bill? You don't know whether it is before labor or it's before health. Honorable Mushomba.
Mr. Speaker, my bill went to the Health Committee first. They disowned it. It was put to Labor Committee. They disowned it. It was taken back to Health. I'm still waiting for communication because they also disowned it. That's why I'm saying my bill is lost.
What do you mean disowned?
They say the matters that are discussed within the bill are not matters that are supposed to be discussed within those respective committees.
Let them bring a report.
I've been waiting for the report, Mr. Speaker.
Health Committee, I don't know, Honorable Nyikal is here. Please just go and bring a report. And they say, we think this is a strange thing, and then the House will make a decision one way or other. He said, yeah, if it is, yeah, even that will be a report. If the Health Committee finds that it is raising strange things, they can just make a report. So we will know, the House will know how to deal with those strange things. The House, as sitting in plenary, will be able to deal with the matter. Yeah? So that she doesn't complain that the bill is oscillating between two committees. Not on this now. Again, they're not the issue of the aged. Very well. They're not too aged. You can raise on the not too aged.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not raising on the not too aged because you already gave your direction, which I will abide with. I will bring the amendments in the next parliament because there are some things that as a lawyer I'm embarrassed that we can put, like the right to legal, I don't know if it's called legal dignity. There's no such right. They should have consulted with lawyers. But that aside, Mr. Speaker, I'm just concerned that what Honorable Wamushomba is raising, we have bills, and you would even give a direction around them. We have bills that come from the National Assembly, some which are very similar with the bills that are coming from Senate. The Senate bills, some of them are even younger than the ones that come from National Assembly. But the Senate ones come ahead of National Assembly. And then it's like then the private members who have done work. I sit in budget, so I happen to know. It's like the members who are doing work in National Assembly, then your work is not recognized. But then other than that, you also have similar bills, like the geriatric bills and this one of older persons. It's similar issues. But we will bring this one, then she will bring hers, and we have a queue of many bills. I have a similar bill with another one in Senate. Mine had said I actually agreed to let mine go. I will bring my issues and give her to add in Senate. But what about the other members who have bills which are similar, like even the public participation one? It's not mine, but you have another one from Senate. When they come here, they are given priority, the ones of Senate. But I'm also more concerned about the bills that go to health. You've even given directions in relation to my own bills. Then the health committee has just gone to sleep. They are not bringing the ones on, and even the justice committee on my child justice bill, they are asleep. They tell me they are calling me for meetings. Meeting every day, I'm available, I'm in this parliament daily. They don't call me for meetings. Surely, Mr. Speaker, I brought these bills the first year up to now. Even this period of COVID, could they call us on Zoom? We are willing to discuss on Zoom. Because it's very frustrating for members to do so much work, and then it comes to naught. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Millie, I'm certainly in sympathy with those sentiments. And part of the reason why we as House Business Committee resolved to have these extra sittings on and Thursday evenings is so as to address this issue of private members' bills. And the problem has been this. When Wednesday mornings were set aside as the days to consider private members' bills, we did not have the presidential system of governance that we have today, where any bill originating in the Senate, about 99.9% of all bills originating from the Senate will be private members. And then 349 members in this chamber. We still stuck to Wednesday mornings as the days reserved to consider private members' bills. I mean, it's not tenable, certainly. And indeed, it is within members' power to see how to address that problem, because, as you say, there are very many, and I've been seeing them almost every day. There are so many private members' legislative proposals, some of which have progressed, as you rightly pointed out, into bills, but they have still not seen the light of day. And indeed, and the House Business Committee again, in its wisdom, not seen the need to save them. At the end of the last session, many of them would have died. Indeed, a very, very, an unrealistic thing to have found ourselves in. Not a very good thing for us as a house to encourage. So, Honorable Odhiambo, your point is valid, and I've said time without number, called on chairmen of committees to please spare some time to consider many of those proposals that have come from your colleagues. Even if you are a chair of a committee, you could also originate a bill. How will you feel when you are told that another committee to which it is referred is either sitting or sleeping or walking on the bill? So please, I mean, that's how we must be able to encourage one another. So when you see private, and there are so many of these private members' bills. I only hope that the House will rise to the occasion on these evening sittings to consider many of these bills, because one of the reasons was for us to set aside those evening sittings is to be able to attend to many of these private members' initiatives. Obviously, there will be one such sitting this evening. Hopefully, members will be available to come. But if you are not there also, again, you can't eat your cake and have it. You must be present to prosecute those bills and make amendments. Yes. There are many proposals that I have received about some members have even proposed more sitting hours. Perhaps some of them, of course, as long as we have this system, again, Tuesday mornings are not very good because, again, those are the days that CSs do appear before committees. So if you have sittings here, then you'll have some, there will be, you may throw away some business that is here only to realize the member was before another committee, maybe because a CS was appearing there, or such like a government functionary. So I want to invite all of us to think how to best utilize the time we have, particularly to ensure that we don't do so many private members' initiatives. Members, I think that's as far as we can go today. Next order.
Order number 9, Committee of the Whole House.
Order members. Order members, we are now in the Committee of the Whole. We have quite a bit of business, actually. I hope we can carry along everyone. Now, honorable members, we shall start with the consideration of the Presidential Reservation to the Employment Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 15 of 2019.
His Excellency the President, reservation to clause 3.
Mover, Leader of Majority Party.
Honorable Chairman, I beg to move that clause 3 of the bill be amended by deleting subclause 4 and subclause 5 and subclause 6 in line with the recommendations of the President. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chairman, members may recall that the Employment Act, the Employment Amendment Bill, the National Assembly Bill number 15 of 2019, was passed by the National Assembly on the Thursday, 17th of September, 2010, having been moved by the Honorable Member for Gilgil, the Honorable Mada Wangari. And the bill sought to amend the Amendment Act in order to provide for pre-adoptive leave to persons intending to adopt children. In line with the powers conferred by Article 115 of the Constitution, His Excellency the President expressed some reservations to assent to the Employment Bill of 2019. And consequently, The memorandum was sent to the National Assembly and communicated to us on the February the 9th, 2021, where the message was that the President had refused to assent the bill because of sub-clauses 4, 5, and 6 of Clause 3. And those had sought to provide for pre-adoptive leave and parental leave for parents of a child born as a result of a surrogate motherhood agreement and the procedure for applying for such leave. And in his memorandum, His Excellency the President noted that surrogacy is itself a novel reproductive science which has not been regulated in this country. And because of that, if the bill is enacted in law in that form, surrogacy agreements recognized by it would operate in a vacuum in terms of the absence of a substantive legal and regulatory framework to govern surrogacy in Kenya. And I believe the other provisions that related to surrogate motherhood are also a substantive nature, and it was his feeling that we need to formulate a more comprehensive policy arrived at after a broad public participation and stakeholder engagement. And it's on that basis that His Excellency then recommended that those three clauses be removed. And I would urge the House that we consider them positively and agree with His Excellency so that the bill can continue being in operation subject to the removal of those three issues that would otherwise render it inoperable. So I would want to I beg to move, and I would want to ask the there's a second. There's no seconder. Yeah, thank you. I beg to move.
Order, Honorable. What do you want to say? You have not even proposed the question. Why do you haven't proposed the question yet? Yes, Honorable Miri, the system. Yeah. Let me propose the question first. Honorable Miri, let me propose the question first. Honorable members, I propose a question that Clause 3 be amended as recommended by His Excellency the President. We shall get 2 members, then we make progress. Yes, member for Cheparungu.
Yes. Thank you, Chairman. I want to agree with what His Excellency the President feel not comfortable with ascending this amendment, Bill 15 of 2019. These are the reasons that we gave out as the committee. The committee held a meeting on Monday, 15th February 2021 to deliberate on the President's reservations on the Employment Amendment Bill 2019. In consideration, the memorandum, the committee was persuaded that the President's reasons for refusal to assent to the bill were valid and observed that the proposed provisions granting parental and paternal leave to parents of a child born out of surrogate motherhood agreement were adopted by the committee after receiving submissions on the same from various stakeholders during public participation. At the time, the committee was convinced that these situations presented unique circumstances and found it prudent to accord special consideration to parents who intend to obtain leave to enable them care for and apply for adoption of children born as a result of surrogate motherhood agreements. Chairman, surrogacy is still a novel, reproductive science in Kenya, and as such it operates in a regulated manner. And if enacted as it was, the provision would operate in a legislative vacuum. There is need for the nation to formulate a comprehensive policy arrived at after broader public participation and stakeholder engagement, which would inform a rigorous, substantive legal and regulatory framework to protect all parties within a surrogacy arrangement. For legislative harmony and ease of interpretation, administration, and enforcement, the rights accruing to and obligations on the various parties in surrogate motherhood, including right to maternal, paternal, or parental leave, should be contained in a bespoke legislative only dealing with that subject matter. The committee, having considered the President's reservation to the Employment Amendment Bill 2019, pursuant to Article 115 of the Constitution, recommended that the House agrees with the President's recommendation that Clause 3 of the bill be amended by deleting subclauses 4, 5, and 6. Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, I give, he is a chair, or the vice chair of the relevant committee. Now, let's have Honorable Wangari. Honorable Wangari actually was the original owner of this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank the committee and the leader of majority for their consideration of the presidential memorandum. And I, from the onset, agree with the president. And I say that because the original amendment I had put across was on the pre-adoptive leave for those children that are adopted through the legal framework that is already set out, considering Article 53 of the Constitution on the rights of children. And I want to clarify, because some members have wondered whether the whole bill has died, and say that not really. In fact, the president had no issue with the pre-adoptive leave on Section 29A and Section 3 of the bill, and only had reservations, rightfully so, on the issue of surrogacy for the commissioning parents. And he was specific that he threw the ball back to us to actually develop a legal framework on which to anchor the issue of surrogacy. So I want to thank the committee for the consideration and say that this had come from the public participation, which has been very key in terms of including the public in our legislation work. And I definitely support the report and agree with the president and throw the ball back to us as members of parliament to create a proper legal framework for surrogacy, and maybe in the future this can be able to come back to this house to be in harmony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, we shall have two other members, then we really make progress on this. Honorable Makari. You cannot speak now. It is Honorable Makari's time.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think I agree with the proposal from the President. And even as I agree, Honorable Chair, I think I get concerned when I hear the committee kind of lamenting that they could not pick these things before they went to the President. This House makes laws. And I think there are such a glaring gaps. I identified the other side. It doesn't say a lot good things about ourselves. We need to improve, Mr. Chairman, as I support.
Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I do agree with the President, and I hope I've raised it earlier with the Speaker, and I hope the House leadership is listening. I forgot to emphasize that I'd requested that if the Health Committee cannot bring their report on assisted reproduction technologies bill that has been listed in the order paper twice, can the House leadership please bring that bill? The court has decreed that we make such a law. The President has now decreed we make such a law. Honorable Billy Odhiambo has brought such a bill. Can the Health Committee stop being a gatekeeper on members' bills? Nobody stops you from bringing your own bills. But you cannot gatekeep members' bills for 2 years. Bring the bill that I brought so that we can pass a bill that does what the President is asking us to do. We sound like we are not doing our work and we are doing the work. Health Committee, please bring and stop sitting on my bills. I have 2 bills before you are sitting on. Bring my bills.
Very well. I think the Speaker actually earlier mentioned and spoke towards that. Honorable members, why don't we make progress really on this? We have quite a bit of business. Honorable Mishra, one minute. Then we must make progress.
Thank you, Speaker.
We have quite a bit of business this afternoon.
First of all, I respond to Madam Honorable Millie Odhiambo. We have already worked on ART billing when I was in Health Committee, but it must be on the way. So we did it in Mombasa in a
Honorable
big way.
Mishra,
Number
address the
two,
chair.
I
Address the
agree,
chair,
I
not
agree,
me.
I agree with the President bill about surrogacy, but we have to look into detailed manner of surrogacy. Surrogacy should be allowed in a technical way among Kenyans. If we allow international surrogacy, the gay couple will come, the child trafficking will happen, human trafficking will happen, and it will be a business by Muindis, by Chinese, by American Wazungus, and poor Africans will be the victim of surrogacy. So it should be allowed domestically in Kenya particularly. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, I now put the question that clause 3 be amended as recommended. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 3 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, we must report on that particular bill so that then we move to the next. Mover.
Honorable Chairperson, I beg to move that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the presidential reservations on the Employment Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 15 of 2019, without amendments.
Honorable members, I'll put the question, which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the presidential reservations on the Employment Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 15 of 2019, without amendments. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, we are done with that. We shall now transition to the Health Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 64 of 2019.
Clause 2.
Honorable members, I propose a question that clause 2 be part of the bill. We have an amendment by the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Health. Oh, Majority Leader will move on behalf of the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Health.
Yes. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chair, on behalf of the Committee of Health, the Chair who is caught up on budget issues, I beg to move that clause 2 of the bill be amended in the proposed new section 79A by deleting subsection 1 and substituting thereof the following new subsection, which is that the Cabinet Secretary shall develop policy guidelines on the mechanisms for referral of patients to health institutions outside the country, and B in subsection 3 by deleting the words within or. And the justification for this is read as section 79 of the Health Act provides for those guidelines on referrals of patients within the country, and therefore the bill, the proposal in the bill should be limited to referral of patients outside the country rather than both inside and outside, because that's already taken care of. And so it's a fairly straightforward amendment, and I believe when the member, they've discussed, he's in agreement. So I'd like to move and ask members to support.
I propose a question that clause 2 be amended as proposed by the Departmental Committee on Health. Honorable Misha, you do want to say something on 1 minute? It was.
Thank you, Speaker, sir. I agree with the withdrawal of this inside the country, but outside the country, I agree with it. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, I will put the question that clause 2 be amended as proposed. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 2 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Title.
Honorable members, I propose the question that the title be the title of the bill. There is no amendment to it. I therefore put the question that the title be the title of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 1.
Honorable members, I propose a question that clause 1 be part of the bill. There are no amendments to it, so I will put the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, having done with that, we shall do reporting. Mover.
Honorable Chairperson, I beg to move that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Health Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 64 of 2019, and its approval thereof with amendments.
I will put the question, which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Health Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 64 of 2019, and its approval thereof with amendments. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, we are done with that particular piece. We shall now transition to the one on the care and protection of older members of society bill, Senate Bill number 17 of 2018.
Clauses 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29.
Honorable members, I propose a question that clauses 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29 be part of the bill. We have no amendments in all those clauses. I therefore put the question that clauses 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 30.
Honorable members, I propose a question that clause 30 be part of the bill. We have an amendment by the chairperson, Labor and Social Welfare. Member for Chepalungu.
Chairman, that clause 35 of the bill, I beg to move, be amended by deleting the word the schedule and substituting, therefore, the words this act.
Just explain what is the reason, what is the rationale, what is the import of doing that amendment so that members appreciate.
It's very clear. It's just like tidying it up, cleaning it up.
Okay, very well. Honorable members, I propose a question that clause 30 be amended as proposed by the chair. Yes, Honorable Makari.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, you know the mover of this amendment should have actually explained to us why the act and not the schedule, because this is still part of the whole bill. But I think he's saying it's just tightening. If it's just a matter of cleaning it, I support.
I therefore put the question, honorable members, that the clause 30 be amended as proposed by the chair. I will put the question that clause 30 be amended as proposed by the chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I will now put the question that clause 30 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clauses 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40. 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, and 49.
Honorable members, I propose a question that clauses that 1, that 2, that 3, that 4, that 5, that 6, that 7, that 8, that 9, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, and 49 be part of the bill. We have no amendments to those clauses. I therefore put the question that it clauses that 1, that 2, that 3, that 4, that 5, that 6, that 7, that 8, that 9, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 2.
I propose the question that clause 2 be part of the bill. We have no amendment. I therefore put the question that clause 2 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Title.
I propose a question that the title be the title of the bill. No amendment. I therefore put the question that the title be the title of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 1.
I propose a question that clause 1 be part of the bill. No amendment. I therefore put the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. All the members, even the chair, the concerned chair is so busy consulting, you are not even voting on this bill. I'll carry that again. I'll now put the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, we are done with that. We do reporting. Mover.
Honorable Chairperson, I beg to move that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the care of older members of society, Senate Bill number 17 of 2018, and its approval thereof with amendments.
Honorable members, I'll put the question, which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the care of older members of society, Bill, Senate Bill number 17 of 2018, and its approval thereof with amendments. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, we are done with the care and protection of older members of society, Bill, Senate Bill number 17 of 2018. We shall now transition to the Refugees Bill, National Assembly Bill number 62 of 2019, and we shall resume from clause 21.
Clause 21.
Honorable members, I propose a question that clause 21 be part of the bill. We have an amendment by the Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Kaluma.
Yes, Honorable Chair, I thank you. I beg to move that clause 21 of the bill be amended by inserting the words "are of old age" immediately after the words "suffer from disability." Honorable Chair, we are proposing this amendment so that we include elderly persons among the persons who should be given care of when their matters are being dealt with under the categories of persons with disability. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Honorable members, I propose a question that clause 21 be amended as proposed by the chairperson. I will put the question that clause 21 be amended as proposed by the chairperson. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 21 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 22.
I propose the question that clause 22 be part of the bill. We have an amendment by Honorable Miri Odhiambo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chair, sorry. I move that we amend clause 22, 1C, as per the order paper, to ensure there is consistency on timelines between clause 22, 1C and 22, 2. For need for harmonization. That one, I don't know if it is, since I don't have the bill, or whether it is a presumption on an earlier proposal I made. Maybe I can ask Honorable Kaluma to confirm.
Well, he will only confirm after you have moved. And I have proposed the question.
Yes, I have, Chair.
Oh, you are done?
Yes.
Okay, honorable members, I propose a question that clause 22 be amended as proposed by Honorable Miri. I'll give Honorable Chair an opportunity.
Chair, the committee opposes this amendment, Chair, for the fact that the reason for which it is being moved is not very clear. Chair, clause 22, subclause 1C, requires a person whose appeal on an application to be recognized as a refugee has failed to apply for admission to another country within 60 days. After that, subclause 2 gives the Cabinet Secretary discretion to keep extending the period for the person stay in the country indefinitely, actually within 3 months. So they are not mutually consonant. I wanted to request Honorable Mili to look at what it deals with. What we are saying in clause 22(1)(c) is that when your appeal is not successful, you apply to be admitted to another country within 60 days. And we still safeguard the person in subclause 2 by saying, at the discretion of Cabinet Secretary, the person can continue to have extension to stay around. I don't therefore see the rationale for saying 3 months, 3 months.
Honorable members, yes, Honorable Makari. You only guide when I give you a chance. Now it is time for Honorable Makari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, being the mover, I will still give her a chance to second stab, but let's have Honorable Makari first.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I want to agree with the Honorable Kaluma. You know, after your appeal is declined, Honorable Chair, it means then you have been released to go to another country. And I don't think we really need to have such a person 3 months in the country. It's better we say 60 days so that they also see the urgency to apply to those other countries. Otherwise, if we allow them a lot of time, then they will just relax and continue hanging around, which I don't think is good for the country. Thank you.
Very well. Honorable Midi.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, sometimes I know I don't sit in the chair, but if you listen, would save the House time. I'd actually made a request to Honorable Kaluma, sort of to guide, because I couldn't remember whether this is one of my amendments which was defeated. But it was defeated, so there was even no reason I would just drop it. There was no reason even for him to talk. All I needed to do was to guide you by telling you that I've actually realized it's one of the ones that were already, it was based on the fact that my amendment earlier would have passed. Okay. So I'm not even moving it anymore.
Very well. That is dropped. I will therefore put the question that clause 22 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 23.
I propose a question that clause 23 be part of the bill. We have an amendment by Honorable Miri. Honorable Miri Odhiambo, clause 23.
Chair, I propose that 23(5) be amended as per the order paper. Chair, what I'm trying to do with the amendments is to ensure that Kenya does not violate international law, especially in regard to the principle of non-refoulement. Kenya has ratified several international treaties, and what our provision has now is to entrench the principle of non-refoulement, which will make us in violation of the various treaties that we have ratified in Kenya. I therefore move.
Honourable members, I propose a question that clause 23, subclause 5 be amended as proposed by Honourable Miri. I've said subclause 5 because there is still another amendment by Honourable Miri under the same clause to insert a new subclause. So we are dealing with subclause 5. And the question is, yes, Honourable Chair.
Yeah, Honourable Chair, the proposed amendment by Honourable Miri to subclause 5 is agreeable to the committee for the reason she has given, and for the additional reason that this part she is seeking to delete will give the cabinet, the commissioner, too much power, which may be abused. It is enough that the refugees are required to abide by the laws of the country, and those laws have provisions in terms of how breaches of or their violations are dealt with.
Honourable members, I will put the question that clause 23, subclause 5 be amended as proposed by Honourable Miri Odhiambo. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honourable Miri, you have a new subclause 6 under the same clause.
Thank you, Chair. I propose that we have a new subclause because we have taken away the powers that were given to the CS. We are suggesting that a person who has submitted an application shall be under obligation to abide by all the laws of Kenya, including the lawful orders given and mandated under this Act. I don't know if I can move subclause 6 as well. And I want to request your indulgence because I realized that what I submitted is not necessarily what is also in my computer. So in case there is a subclause, a further subclause 7, I think, that I don't know if I can move them together because I don't think there would be things the committee would be against because we just want to obligate.
What Honourable Miri you have is subclause 6 only.
Then in that case, let me move that subclause 6, Chair.
Honourable members, I will propose a question that clause 3 be amended as proposed by Honourable Miri. Honourable Chairperson.
Yeah, Honourable Chair, the committee opposes the insertion of new subclause 6 because, number one, it is superfluous. What is already effected by the amendment Honourable Mili proposed to clause 5 is that breaches of those national laws will invite punishments prescribed under those laws.
That's okay.
That is what it
Either
already
way,
means.
it's okay.
Yeah, so we don't need to restate it. In any event, the offences are created under those laws which will be violated.
Honourable members, I will. Yes, Honourable Makari, you want to? Okay, then I will.
Just a quick one, Mr. Chairman. I think Mr. Chairman also, Honourable Mili also needs to save us a bit of time because it looks like she doesn't have really the order paper, and I would beg her to have our order paper so that she moves what is in the order paper. You know, our computer seems to have more than what we are saying. And I think we are really discussing the order paper. Thank you.
Yes, the clerk will make that arrangement. Honourable members, I will put the question that clause 23 be amended as proposed by Honourable Miri Odhiambo. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. The ayes have it. What is out of order, Honourable Makari?
You know, Mr. Chairman, this amendment has two parts. Part 1 we passed. I think part 2, which Mili didn't seem to have in our computer, the chair of the committee has proposed a rejection. So I think you really you need to put the question again so that we get it right. And
no, you see, the other members, and that is why we need to be all alert. Honourable Miri's amendments were in two parts. There is part 1, which we voted on subclause 23, subclause 5. Now we are dealing with the new clause, clause 6. That is what we are dealing with. So let there not be no confusion, and we need to carry along everyone, and you need to be alert. I'll put that again. Honorable members, I'll put the question that clause 23, when I said clause 23, you know it is the new inclusion, that the new clause 23 be amended as proposed by Honorable Millie Odhiambo. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The nays have it. Honorable members, I will propose a question. I will now put the question that clause 23, as amended, be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 24.
I will propose a question that clause 24 be part of the bill. We have a minor renumbering amendment by the chair, but also insertion of new subclauses 2, 3. Honorable Chairperson.
Yes, Honorable Chair, I beg to move that clause 24 of the bill be amended. A, by renumbering the existing provision as subclause 1, and B, by inserting the following new subclauses immediately after subclause 1. Subclause 2, to read where a person is lawfully in Kenya and is subsequently unable to return to his country of origin for any of the reasons specified in section 3, the person shall, prior to the expiration of his lawful stay, present himself before an appointed officer and apply for recognition as a refugee in accordance with the provisions of this Act. Honorable Chair, I don't know whether I continue to the end so that I explain them at once.
Well, you don't need to read. You don't need to read word for word. Just give us the import of the amendment.
Yes. So, Chair, in that new subclause 2, we want to make provision for a person who is already in the country, who becomes a potential asylum seeker, to have a right to do so. In what we have renumbered as subclause 1, honorable members, we were talking of people coming from out. But in subclause 2, we are making provision for a person who is in, but is finding the circumstances back in his country not acceptable. So he wants to apply. That is the provision we are bringing in subclause 2. Honorable Chair, in terms of subclause 3, as per the order paper, we are bringing what is currently in subclause in clause 29, subclause 3, under subclause 24, because that is where it rightfully, belongs. It is just reorganization.
Okay, very well. Honorable members, I will propose a question that clause 24 be amended as proposed by Honorable Chairperson. I will put the question that clause 24 be amended as proposed by the Chairperson. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 24, as amended, be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 25.
I propose a question that clause 25 be part of the bill. We have an amendment by Honorable Chairperson, new subclause 3A.
Yes, Honorable Chair, we move to amend clause 25 of the bill by inserting the following new subclause immediately after subclause 3. 3A, asylum seekers at transit centers shall be processed within a reasonable time. And again, Honorable Chair, the reason is obvious. We don't want an asylum seeker, having applied to be recognized as a refugee, to be kept indefinitely. We are just making the provision, which is already under Article 47 of our Constitution, that the process of their refugee status determination be expedited and be within reasonable time. I move.
Honorable members, I propose a question that clause 25 be amended as proposed by Honorable Chairperson. Yes, Honorable Makari.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, even as I support this amendment, I wish we were in a position to define this reasonable time, Mr. Chairman. Because when you say reasonable time, actually it's just like leaving it open. And the fact that this person is already at the transit centers is not in a good place, just is at the transit centers, Mr. Chairman. I think it would have been really better that if we defined, but despite that, I support the amendment.
Honorable members, I will put the question that clause 25 be amended as proposed by the Chairperson. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 25, as amended, be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable Makari, if you speak to Honorable Miri, she will tell you that actually reasonable time has a definition. The judges are able to say what is reasonable in the circumstances. There is a legal definition. The reasonable person is the person who is on the carrier. Is it a reasonable man? Okay.
Clause 26.
Honorable members, I will propose a question that clause 26 be part of the bill. There are no amendment to that. I therefore put the question that clause 26 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 27.
I propose a question that clause 27 be part of the bill. We have some amendment by Honorable Miri Odhiambo. Clause 27.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, even as I propose this amendment, I'm glad that the Committee on Welfare is actually sitting here and seeing what the Security Committee is doing. That even when it is a bill that comes to the committee, honestly, when they bring 1 or 2 amendments to their bill, when I think I have almost 50 amendments, there must be something wrong with the committee. But having said that, and I'm glad they can see
something wrong.
There is something wrong, Ms. Chair. That is why the chairman is running away. But having said that,
he is not the chair of
he has left. He's a deputy.
He is not the chair of that committee. But Honorable Miri, please.
He's a member.
To save on time, let's please.
Let me move, Chair. Let me move my amendment in 27.
Order, Honorable Miri. There is a point of order by the chair. And Honorable Kabiga looks very agitated.
Chair, it's not right for Honorable Miri to attack my chair and cast aspersions on his capacity, particularly when the Committee on Administration and National Security is the most organized, committee in this House, committee number 1. Honorable Chair, you would remember this is the only committee with established subcommittees. So I'm only privileged by the chair to deal with this matter because I chair the subcommittee dealing with legislation. Otherwise, our chair is very capable and ready to deal with this.
Okay.
Chair, Honorable Kaluma is a bit confused. I'm not talking of your committee. Your committee, I can only accuse it of opposing everything that I brought, even though I bring. But at least I'm glad you are opposing because you have brought your own amendments. I'm speaking of the committee that dealt with the older persons, 2 amendments, and as a lawyer, I had over 50 amendments.
Now
a very unserious committee. Let me move my amendments for this committee to now oppose. Chair, let me move my amendment to 27. And the aim of the amendment, if you see the amendment talks about screening of refugees that come, and it gives the reasons for the screening is to ensure security of the safety of the people. But I'm also seeking to add that it should not stop there, but also to prevent trafficking in persons, especially women and children, and to also stop terrorism as part of the reasons. I don't know whether I should move the second one as well.
Yeah, I'll just move together.
The second one, I'm also proposing a new amendment, which is subclause 27.2, that requires that any security screening shall be undertaken in a manner that preserves the dignity of the person and that protects the rights of vulnerable persons, especially women and children. So that even when we have, I'm seeking to add a stronger screening agenda to include screening for terrorism and others. In fact, in my original one, in my computer, actually, you had even proliferation of arms so that people don't bring light arms into the country. But unfortunately, it fell off the way somewhere. But that is my amendment for 1 and 2 is to enhance the circumstances that we are screening. But in the event that we are doing that screening, that will be sensitive to women and children, so that in screening we are not pulling women's breasts and looking at in a very insensitive manners in areas that we shouldn't. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable members, I will propose a question that clause 27 be amended as proposed by Honorable Miri. Or you propose that they split because they may not relate seamlessly. That's fair. That's a fair request. That's a fair request. So, but there is subclause 1 and subclause 2, right? No, you have moved. That's fine. They're just saying that in terms of proposing, I propose the 2 separately, which is a fair request. Honorable members, I propose a question that clause 27, subclause 1 be amended as proposed by Honorable Miri. Yes, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Chair, this particular amendment is agreeable to the committee because it is just adding additional grounds for security screening. So it is a harmless provision. It can be allowed in the bill.
Hello. Yes, sorry, I was consulting the speaker, the clerk. So, honorable members, I will put the question that clause 27, subclause 1 be amended as proposed by Honorable Miri. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, I will propose a question that clause 27, subclause 2 be amended as proposed by Honorable Miri. Honorable Chairperson. Yes, Honorable Kabinga.
I was wondering if my chair could go first, but if my chair could go first, then I go after him.
Yes, you are deferring to the chair, please. Honorable.
No, I have mine, but I wanted him to go first.
Yes. Oh, okay. No wonder he said your committee is quite organized.
Yes.
You allow the chair to go first.
Yes. Yes.
Honorable Karuma.
Honorable Chair, the committee opposes the proposed insertion of new subclause 2 in terms of its content and substance. Honorable Chair, if you look at the provision we already have in clause 20, it is talking to the special manner in which women and children in particular should be treated, preserving their dignity always, so that this additional amendment is repeating a provision which is substantively already in clause 20 of the bill. Other vulnerable groups, Honorable Chair, are in clause 21. But number 2, Chair, if you look at this provision, really it is superfluous to the extent that even beyond clause 20, we have a right to human dignity under the Constitution, which is a right applicable to all human persons, not just citizens, including refugees. So we oppose.
Yeah, if you're dropping, right, let me give Honorable Miri the priority.
Just agree. Chair, I've actually, and I'm glad I told Honorable Kaluma before that when we are here, it's a give and take. And if you actually show me, like now I can see in 21, it is actually covered, then there is no reason to move. But speaking as a woman, I want to urge my uncle, Honorable Kaluma, that as a man, there are certain privileges you have that we don't have, that you may not know of. So what looks very obvious to you as a man is not very obvious to us as a woman, and that's why we keep restating. That's what we call mainstreaming gender and women's rights issues. That even though it is in the Constitution, unless it is provided specifically in the law, some people will not see. But in this case, it is provided in 21, so I'm okay. But I'm just urging, because I'm seeing that you keep repeating that. I am a woman, I know where it pinches. You are privileged to be a man. You may not understand. One day we'll ask God in another life that you come back as a woman, then you'll understand.
Honorable Miri, so that is dropped. Is that dropped?
Yes, I've dropped.
Yes, very well. Honorable members, I will therefore, and you do not say that Honorable Kaluma is privileged to be a man. Even you are privileged to be a woman.
No, it's privileged, Chair, to be a man.
Honorable members, I will, having dropped that, I will put the question that clause 27, as amended, remember it was amended in subclause 1, as amended, as proposed by Honorable Miri Odhiambo. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 27, as amended, be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 28.
Honorable members, I will propose a question that clause 28 be part of the bill. Honorable members, we have an amendment by Honorable Miri Odhiambo, but we also have a further amendment by Honorable Kosing. So we shall start with Honorable Miri. When that passes, then
I don't know if it's...
when it is carried, then we shall go to...
Chair, I'm not too sure whether it's the one we agreed with the committee. Is it the one? Yeah, we agreed with the committee that Honorable Kosing moves it, then mine can drop. Because mine was tidying up.
Okay.
I'm okay with him moving.
Fair enough, fair enough. Honorable Kosing. What is point of order?
Point of order.
Yes, Honorable Karuma, what is it?
Honorable Chair, to clause 8, there, yes, clause 28, there is a committee amendment. There is an amendment proposed by Honorable Kosing and Honorable Mili.
Actually, I've discovered mine.
The committee also has an amendment. Now, looking at the three amendments, Honorable Chair, in substance, they are the same except for wording. Honorable Chair, when we met during the harmonization with Honorable Kosing yesterday, we agreed that we will go with Honorable Mili's amendment because Honorable Kosing's would be a totally new provision, except that we had a problem with just a clause in our amendment, clause B. So Honorable Chair, in terms of order,
yes,
pray that Honorable Mili proceeds so that yes, 28.1 we have no problem with. B, we have a problem with. The others we don't have a problem with. Yes, yes.
First of all, Honorable Chair, Honorable Karuma, you are talking of a completely new clause. So yours doesn't come now. It will come much later at the end because it is not a sub-clause. You are actually proposing a complete new clause.
Yes.
That comes later.
Yes, ours is a complete new clause.
But still on the first one, I agree with what you say.
Yes.
Indeed, the Honorable Miri, if Honorable Miri drops,
yes,
Honorable Kosing automatically dies.
Yes.
Because Honorable Kosing's amendment hangs on the shoulders of Honorable Miri's.
Of Honorable Miri.
So Honorable Miri, if yours dies, you will die together.
No, I don't want us to die together, Chair. Chair, could I then move? It's just that I want to, because the chair of the committee has said that there are others he doesn't agree with, or one he doesn't agree with. Could I then move them subclause by subclause? So can I please, Honorable Chair, hereby move that 28.1 be amended as per the order paper. Chair, this one basically seeks clarity of meaning.
Honorable members, I will propose a question that clause 28.1 be amended as proposed by Honorable Miri. Honorable Chair.
Honorable, this one is agreeable and supported by the committee because it takes the definition from the convention itself.
Honorable members, I will put the question that clause 28.1 be amended as proposed by Honorable Miri. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable Miri, next one. You are doing a new subclause 1A.
Chair, I propose that we have a new 28, oh no, it's 1A, that seeks to introduce a new clause that says that without prejudice to the generality of the one, every refugee and asylum seeker shall be accorded treatment as favorable as possible, and in any event not less favorable than those accorded to foreign nationals in Kenya, not Kenyans, but foreign nationals in Kenya.
Honorable members, I propose a question that clause 28 be amended as proposed by Honorable Miri. And we are specifically speaking about subclause 1A, the new subclause 1A. Honorable Chairperson.
Yes, Honorable Chair, the committee opposes the proposed new subclause 1A for the reason, Honorable Chair, that while at least on the face of it, it appears to give or accord the refugees better treatment, it can be dangerously interpreted in terms of implementation. And what I mean, Honorable Chair, is that if you say, for instance, that they'll be treated not less favorable than other foreign nationals in Kenya. Foreign nationals in Kenya, like those who are at work, are required to have work permit. And this is something in later provisions we are seeking not to require refugees to take to be able to work. So it may be contradictory and it may be interpreted in a manner that prejudices the interest of the refugees we seek to protect. I wanted to request Honorable Millie to drop this for those introductions we'll be bringing. If you interpret this, you'll require refugees, for instance, to require work permit. When we are making later provisions to say with their ID they can engage in gainful employment as we have prescribed in other clauses we have discussed. So we oppose this particular one because it can deny rights it is purporting to give.
Honorable Makari.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I tend to agree with Chairman Karuma, because even the here we have already accepted, Honorable Millie, talks about the rights of refugees as captured in the UN Convention. So if the rights are clearly stipulated, Honorable Chair, I really don't see the need for this new A. And I agree that it might be misused, as Karuma is saying. Yeah. So with that one, I really want to urge her to drop this one. Thank you.
Very well. Honorable members, I will put the question that clause 28, of course, subclause 1A be amended as proposed by Honorable Miri. With as many as of that opinion say aye. With as many as of the contrary opinion say nay. The nays have it. Honorable Miri, we have new subclause 5.
Fanya hivi, wewe teremuka tu chini. Hata watu wanangojea, unasema unione. Si ninakuona ndio huyu kucha. Kucha ninakuona.
Yoi.
Nimekuita mara ngapi Kate? This is the Nissan Note.
Hii ndio motoka.
Not that this is the Nissan Note we are giving out.
Na ni rahisi sana kuwekelea bid. Unaenda kwenye lipa na M-Pesa.